Hello and welcome to the Open Platform. Armenia recently published its national security strategy, and today I will host Ms. Anahit Shirinyan, advisor to the Secretary of the Republic of Armenia Security Council. And we will discuss the strategy and regional developments. Ms. Shirinyan, thank you and welcome to our studio.
My pleasure.
My first question is, why does any country need a national strategy, security strategy?
Well, it's an important part of the security and foreign policy thinking that each and every country has specific strategic priorities aimed at ensuring a nation's security. And it's been a while that nations have been publishing their security strategies. They're also important determinants for the state institutions to know how exactly a state is going to solve its security challenges, how it's going to respond to threats and risks, and as well as for a country's foreign partners and allies to know how exactly they can perhaps correlate and cooperate with a certain country.
It's a kind of guide or a handbook for the state agencies.
Exactly.
What is the difference between the latest strategy and the previous one?
Perhaps the easiest way of answering your question would be to point to the amount of time in between the two strategies. It's been over a decade that the first security strategy of Armenia was adopted, and a lot has changed. Obviously, some of the more traditional challenges and threats to Armenia have persisted throughout this time, but also many new have emerged. And there are also lots of unknowns. So the short answer is that today Armenia operates in a completely different security environment, which has called for a rethink of its security strategy. And in that sense, the new security strategy is not so much of a review of the older one, but a newly written document with a completely different conceptual framework.
Adapted to the new realities.
Exactly.
In the region and the world itself. You talked about the priorities which have to be followed by the state agencies. Which are the main priorities of this national strategy?
First and foremost, one of the more important determinants of the strategy is that it is based on a whole of government or rather whole of nation approach of a national security planning and implementation. That first of all means inclusivity. It means that during the development of the strategy we have had around 23 state agencies involved officially in the process. But apart from that, we have also held consultations with civil society representatives, with the expert community here in Armenia, and separate chapters have been discussed with diaspora organizations and individuals, as well as with our colleagues in Nagorno-Karabakh, in Artsakh. So indeed, this is we can even say it's a pan-Armenian effort input into this document. But apart from that, this strategy views security in a broader term than perhaps we here in Armenia have traditionally viewed. So it's not only the traditional actors responsible for ensuring security, like the defense establishment or security services or the foreign policy establishment, that is responsible for ensuring security. But also we look at other sectors and state agencies responsible for the sectors, for example, health, high-tech industry, science, social protection systems, to see how exactly these sectors contribute to the implementation of national security.
So it has a more holistic approach.
Exactly.
And, includes
exactly.
more than two
Yes.
or three, let's say, agencies or the ministries are responsible for national security.
Basically, the entire state system, state apparatus, is responsible for national security, and there is also a role for the broader public, for the citizens of Armenia.
Yeah, each and everyone's responsibility.
Exactly.
Armenia has a tough neighborhood in this region. What are put in the strategy about the regional peace and regional situation?
Well, first of foremost, the most important thing that this strategy constates is that Armenia is its primary security guarantor. Of course, we live in an interdependent, interconnected world, and there are various international actors that cooperate to make peace sustainable. But this is some sort of a new, if you will, constatation that Armenia will be seeking self-reliance for as much as possible in today's interconnected world in order to ensure peace and stability in the region. So Armenia is its primary guarantor, security guarantor, and is also the security guarantor for Nagorno-Karabakh people, Artsakh people. And that, by extension, makes Armenia also responsible for the security of the entire region. As a party that is making considerable efforts to sustain peace and security, that makes Armenia a security provider to the region. That, and coupled with Armenian peacekeepers' involvement at sustaining and supporting peace missions abroad, elsewhere in the world, actually make Armenia not just security consumer, but also a security provider.
In his interview with Russian RBC channel, Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan ensured that Armenia would never undermine strategic relations between Armenia and Russia. So what is told, and what role do these relations play, and how are mirrored in this strategy, these relations?
Well, first of all, Armenia's foreign policy is guided by three fundamental principles. Those are the principle of sovereignty, the pan-Armenian outlook, and also the principle of cooperation with all actors that share the same value system there that view international peace and stability the same way as we do. And so we will continue working with our strategic ally Russia in a plethora of fields that have guided our relations. It's the political, military, security, economic, trade, culture, and these relations are based on the historical friendship of the two nations, and they are also guided by the principles of equality and mutual respect for each other's interests. With Russia, we also have an extensive security, military cooperation, military technical cooperation agenda, and we shall be working towards enhancing the mutual defense capabilities and also continuing cooperation in sustaining regional peace and security.
And what about relations with EU and the US? How are they approached?
With the European Union, it is of paramount importance that we continue our friendly relations and cooperation with the European Union, its member states, but also European countries. And we deem the implementation of comprehensive and enhanced partnership agreement that Armenia has signed with the European Union as an important factor contributing to Armenia's current reform agenda. There are also some other priorities in relations with the European Union, primarily people-to-people contacts, enhancing mobility, and we also put special emphasis on relations with France and Germany. With the United States, we have a strategic dialogue process underway that we aim to continue and deepen. This focuses primarily on Armenia's development reform agenda, democracy agenda, but also there are political military consultations with the United States that we will be continuing, and part of that agenda is also Armenia's defense reform and cooperation in international peace and security.
Armenia is a member of Collective Security Treaty Organization from one hand, and from another hand, Armenia is involved in NATO peacekeeping missions and other Western-led, let's say, military cooperation systems. How these seemingly two opposite sides and cooperation directions are balanced in the strategy?
We do not see these Armenia's involvement in the structures and cooperation as mutually exclusive. On the contrary, we work with our CSTO, Collective Security Treaty Organization partners, to enhance security in the broader region. And with NATO, there is a slightly different agenda, like Armenia's defense reform and also Armenia's participation, as you mentioned, in the peacekeepers missions. All of these are tools for Armenia to participate, to have a more active input in the consultations around peace and security at different levels and at different parts of the world. And these are perfectly fitting into Armenia's foreign policy and defense priorities.
Coming to the regional developments and recently July developments, what is the official position? What did Azerbaijan try to reach in July and what they achieved in reality?
Azerbaijan has been using the toolkit of military diplomacy for a while. This is not a secret. And July escalation was just another demonstration of that policy. Unfortunately, Azerbaijan has proven that it doesn't have the political will to solve the conflict of Nagorno-Karabakh by talks through peaceful means. And it has been trying to exert some favorable solution for itself, as it thinks, through continuously escalating and raising the tension along the not only a line of contact between Karabakhi and Azerbaijani forces, but also Armenia-Azerbaijan state border. And the way we see that the July escalation has debunked the myth of Azerbaijan's military political superiority over the Armenians. Suddenly, Azerbaijan needed to appeal to a different country for help, in this case Turkey. And we see it as a very dangerous development that Azerbaijan is not only irresponsible in escalating tensions in the region, but it's also trying to drag external players into this conflict.
You talked about Turkey and what is the official position, and we learned about this position many times from the Minister of Foreign Affairs. From the national security point of view, what is our attitude, Armenia's attitude towards the Turkey's behavior in the region and in Mediterranean as well?
Well, first of all, the way we see is that Turkey has been negatively contributing to Azerbaijan's warmongering and deconstructive attitude in the context of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, because it has been keeping its border with Armenia locked. It has refused to establish diplomatic relations with Armenia without any preconditions. But after this July escalation, we see that Turkey, for the first time since 1993, is directing thinly veiled threats against Armenia. Of course, Turkey's covert support, political and in political military terms to Azerbaijan, has been there for a while, but this is a new trend, if you will, in the regional security architecture, and this is happening, as you mentioned, against a backdrop of Turkey's aggressive and expansionist policies elsewhere in other regions like the Middle East and North Africa and the Eastern Mediterranean. So in that sense, this is, for us, it's a dangerous development. And Armenia will be using its foreign policy and defense policy toolkits in order to respond to these new augmented threats and challenges along Armenia's borders.
Ms. Shirinyan, thank you very much for your time and coming.
Thank you.
This is Open Platform of Public Television of Armenia, and I was talking to Anahit Shirinyan, advisor to the Secretary of the Security Council of Armenia. We discussed national security strategy and regional developments. Thank you for watching us.